We certainly should take a good portion of this day, even in our own minds individually, to remember Martin Luther King and what he stood for. It's not a day, I don't think, for nostalgic, romantic notions of a wonderful day in Washington 50 years ago, or self-congratulations on what we have accomplished, because the job isn't done, as Carrie indicated also. We need to carry on what it was that King had in mind. He was a moral leader. We can't be bystanders. We need to carry on, and everybody can do that. Being a bystander in the face of discrimination, whether you see it happen or feel it, is condoning it. King never would have agreed that that could be a way to success in civil rights, as it was called then, or human rights, as it was called during the abolition era. Can't be bystanders and succeed because we condone what it is that's going on. So we need to be proactive, as King would have been, always was, and would recommend to us that that's the way to get something done. King was a practical dreamer, just like Garrett Smith. That's why the title of the book is that way. He had dreams, and he talked about, I have a dream of a utopian kind of society in which there was equity among people, lack of discrimination, equal opportunity, but he wanted to do it as a reformer. Very important point. He wasn't a revolutionary. He wasn't looking to overthrow the government or get rid of something. He was trying to reform the existing institutions, and that's exactly what the abolitionists were doing. They were working with contemporary institutions at the time to try to produce change of what they saw as a corrupt nation. We're still doing it. King was doing it in 1963 and before. And in order to get there, we need to understand the political system, the social system in its workings, and modify and reform and rework the fabric of those kinds of things. And that's exactly what King was trying to do in his case, as in Garrett's and many other abolitionists, by example. As a moral leader, he set himself up as an example of what could be. What he represented was a model of what this nation is capable of becoming. We can be that way. And he was modeling that. And abolitionists, all of whom came to Peterboro, Horace Smith, John Brown, Frederick Douglass, Angelina Grimke, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, all these people were here and modeled in their moral lives what it was that they wanted others to become. And the idea of reform in that era was, and it's still valid today, that you start reform by reforming yourself. Then your family, hopefully. Then your community. And these things become beacons for what others in bigger situations, in bigger communities, in the whole nation can do. And Peterboro was, in the mid-1800s, an extremely unusual place. It was a beacon of integration and racial acceptance, agreement among people who worked together. It certainly could be today, too. The Emancipation Proclamation, this is the preliminary Emancipation Proclamation, in its original form is in the New York State Library because of what Garrett Smith did. And Donnie mentioned the original of the actual Emancipation Proclamation from January 1, 1863, burned long ago. So this is the document that we have in its original form that has the relevance to this whole movement. And it is directly connected in its preservation with Peterboro. Certainly the 1963 March in Washington is a great step in the direction of producing a greater awareness of human rights. Just before I came up here, I watched the 16-minute Martin Luther King speech on HLN. Then I came directly up here. One of the most inspiring, awe-inspiring, and fundamental change documents in our country's history, and what it attracted attention to. And what it led to, almost immediately, within a year or two after, is the passage of civil rights acts, the 1964 Civil Rights Act, which was the Interstate Commerce Bill, as it was called. Very important in preventing discrimination across state boundaries. And the 1965 Voting Rights Act followed right after that, and many more civil rights acts. So King gave a kickstart to that whole process and needs to be honored. He should eventually be in the Abolition Hall of Fame. As a practical dreamer, as an active abolitionist, risking his life for what he knew we could become and what he knew other people needed to hear. That's the same kind of thing that Smith did, and John Brown did, and others. And they're up there. So King should be nominated for this. He certainly deserves it.